He is the supreme pharaoh of Egypt, but has fallen in love with a modern girl from 1,000 years later. In order to meet his destined lover again, he gave up the chance to enter reincarnation and attain immortality, entrusting his soul and deep longing entirely to the burial Ankh, hoping that one day the Ankh will carry his soul back to his side. So, 3,000 years later, on a day in Egypt, the quick traveler Lin Lang arrived in this world and became a student majoring in archaeology. This mission is to find a powerful Ankh. In Egyptian legend, after a person dies, they must go through many gates to reach the door of life. At this time, the key of life must be used to open the door and walk towards rebirth. Now many Egyptians wear Ankh symbols. Lin Lang also wears an Ankh necklace around her neck. This is the one she bought when she first arrived in Egypt, from an enthusiastic but unscrupulous merchant. At that time, she immediately set her eyes on this cracked Ankh, knowing full well that the price was not right. She couldn't seem to take her eyes off it, always feeling that this Ankh should belong to her. But Zhao Six said it wasn't the one. The Ankh she was looking for possesses great power and has the ability to alter history. It must be before the person with a heart gets this Ankh to find him and stop history from changing. Nevertheless, Lin Lang gritted her teeth and spent money to buy it. Little did she know that this Ankh necklace would soon force her to ancient Egypt, to meet the Pharaoh of Egypt from 3,000 years ago again. And ever since Lin Lang wore this Ankh necklace, strange and bizarre things have been happening around her. Finally, I have been waiting for you, my passionate lover. Please return to Egypt again. Come back to my side. Clearly, he was still walking on the pedestrian street back to the hotel. But the next second he found himself in ancient Egypt 3,000 years ago. And there was always a voice in his mind guiding him forward. Thankfully, his companion Lena called out to him in time, which suddenly brought him back to his senses. Otherwise, if he had taken one more step just now, he would have been hit by the oncoming traffic. And when Lena intended to introduce her to someone, a huge rock suddenly fell from above, just hitting the spot where Lena had been before. All these strange occurrences made Lin Lang think more. In a daze, she heard a distant singing voice. Her eyes began to blur, and she came out with her bag. She followed the voice back to that pedestrian street during the day. It was late, and the street was empty. Only a few shop lights were on. As the singing stopped, Lin Lang regained her awareness, and in a panic, she was about to turn back when she saw a man riding a fine horse in the distance. The man was dressed in black, wrapped up tightly, with only a pair of eyes exposed. At the same time, the man also saw him, surprise crossing his eyes, as if he didn't expect anyone to appear here at night. The fine horse beneath him kept stamping its hooves, madly running towards him. At this speed, it would definitely not stop in front of him, and would probably step over his head. The man said in a deep voice to get out of the way. But where could he hide? The horse would run wherever he went. Can't hide at all. Just as the horse's hoof was about to step on Lin Lang's back, the man on the horse shouted angrily, suddenly tightened the reins. The horse's body leaned back as well. He saved his life and the horse successfully bypassed him and continued to gallop forward. After a moment, the man and the horse turned into a black shadow, disappearing around the corner of the road. Lin Lang didn't have time to feel grateful or emotional. Still shaken from the scare, he suddenly realized the original pedestrian street, I don't know when, had actually turned back into a street full of primitive characteristics. However, the most critical thing is, the backpack containing his phone, ID, and a series of items had been taken away by the man who was just riding the horse, without him noticing at all. Lin Lang gritted his teeth and tried to chase after him now. It was clearly already too late. The strange things that happened after coming to Egypt were overwhelming. Even though Lin Lang was broad-minded, he also felt that he seemed to be targeted by some misfortune. So unlucky. This is definitely not the pedestrian street he was in before. And it's not some mirage either. A thought flashed through his mind. No matter what, he must first ensure his safety and find a way back. The asphalt road had turned into a specially made stone road. On the other side of the low houses, he could see a distant, brightly lit, magnificent palace. He didn't dare to easily walk towards that dazzling palace, planning to try his luck and return the way he came. Maybe he could leave here and get back to the hotel. Just turned a corner when he heard a panicked voice. Lin Lang was taken aback. Before he got close, he saw a girl leaning against the wall not far away, being surrounded by several adult men. They loosened their clothing. The language was lewd. They were viciously teasing the frightened girl. One of the men laughed lewdly, reaching out to unbutton the girl's clothes. Lin Lang shouted to stop. The several men were startled. When they turned back to see Lin Lang, their eyes lit up even more. The men licked their lips as if they had found treasure, leeringly whistled at Lin Lang. Another one came. This one is even prettier. Come over and do something fun with us. Fun my ass. Lin Lang couldn't stand the filthy words from these bastards. She picked up the nearest bamboo pole used for drying clothes, stepped forward a few paces, and struck the man who first spoke lewdly in the abdomen. The man was caught off guard. Clutching his stomach in pain, he fell to the ground at an angle. His face was full of agony. The other men looked very displeased. Their eyes were sinister. They spat and charged at Lin Lang. Lin Lang was not as strong as them, but she was quick and agile. The pole targeted vital points. Gradually, the men's cries of pain and pleas for mercy increased. Weren't they quite arrogant just now? Lin Lang snorted coldly. Without mercy, another strike hit the man closest to her. In the end, all these men were knocked out by her. She also consumed quite a bit of energy. Her arms and legs were sore, but it was more than enough to deal with these ruffians. The girl, who was trembling in fear, came over at this time. Her face was pale, seeing the men lying unconscious on the ground. She still felt a wave of palpitations. She looked up at Lin Lang gratefully. Thank you. You are really amazing. After a pause, he introduced himself. My name is Asha. No need to thank me. Lin Lang is quite skilled. Hello. My name is Lin Lang. Asha stared blankly at Lin Lang's outstretched hand. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Only then did Lin Lang remember. This was not the place he originally came from. Asha's clothes didn't look like what modern Egyptians wear. He was guessing in his mind. He asked Asha where this place was. Asha patiently explained. After getting the answer, Lin Lang pressed his temples. Sure enough, now he is no longer in the capital of Egypt, Cairo, but in Memphis, the capital of Egypt 3,000 years ago. That's right, ancient Egypt 3,000 years ago, during the reign of Ramses II, the 19th dynasty. Lin Lang told himself to stay calm. The surroundings were still filled with architecture characteristic of ancient Egypt. The distant palace was brightly lit. He couldn't find the original hotel, let alone contact Lena with his phone. Asha noticed that Lin Lang's appearance and clothing were not local. Plus, he looked lost walking back and forth. Asha hesitated for a moment and said, if you don't have anywhere to go right now, you can come to my house first. Asha also had an older brother. Their parents passed away early. The siblings relied on each other and opened a bakery. After all, he was going to stay at someone else's place. As soon as Lin Lang entered, he politely greeted him. Limania, who was keeping accounts, saw his sister return. He frowned slightly and was about to scold her for coming back so late when he saw a strange girl following her in. This is Limania. Obviously taken aback. After Asha explained the situation, Limania smiled warmly. Thank you for saving my sister. If you need anything in the future, feel free to tell me. Regarding Lin Lang staying at their home, he had no objections, so Lin Lang settled in with them. Limania and Asha were both gentle in nature and treated Lin Lang very well. Lin Lang sighed. To have someone take him in this unfamiliar place was a stroke of luck amidst misfortune. But while staying here, Lin Lang naturally couldn't just take advantage of their hospitality. without any burden accepting their kindness. He would also help Asha make bread every day and then sell it. The bread Asha made was soft and delicious, and it looked very appealing, not at all inferior to modern bread. But the business didn't seem to be that good. Half a day passed. There aren't many people coming into the bakery. The bakery across from them is doing very well. Asha sighed. My brother and I aren't really Egyptians either. Our parents came to Egypt to do business over a decade ago and had my brother and me. Later they passed away, and my brother and I could only rely on ourselves. But because we have no support here, the nearby land is always against us, which naturally affects the bakery. So not many people come. He couldn't hide his disappointment. The bakery isn't making money. My brother can only go out from time to time to do some other errands, to earn money to support the household. Actually, sometimes I feel like a burden to my brother. He has reached the age to marry, but because he has to take care of me, he doesn't have time to find someone he likes. Asha, don't think like that. You're not a burden. Lin Lang patted Asha's shoulder. I have a way to sell all this bread. Asha didn't take it seriously. It's fine. You don't have to feel psychological pressure because of staying here. Lin Lang had already moved a table outside. Asha didn't understand what he was going to do. Come help me. Let me show you the wisdom of modern people. What method did Lin Lang use to bring the bakery back to life in a short time, making the unsold bread suddenly snatched up by people? Finally, I've been waiting for you, my passionate lover. Please come back to Egypt again. Come back to my side. To bring him back to ancient Egypt, to meet his self from 3,000 years ago. He risked the danger of his soul dissipating, to force Enka to bring him back to his side, hoping this time they would have a perfect ending. But Lin Lang had just been brought to this unfamiliar place. It's either the masked man on horseback who stole the backpack, or a group of foul-mouthed thugs has their eyes on him. Fortunately, he met a kind-hearted brother and sister who took him in. To repay their kindness, Lin Lang cleverly used a modern marketing mindset, instantly bringing the brother and sister's bakery back to life. He combined several tables together, arranging all kinds of beautiful bread. Lin Lang looked at Asha seriously. Do you remember what I just taught you? Asha nodded, a bit hesitant, wondering if it would really work. You'll only know if you try. In the next second, he slapped the table, letting out a loud exclamation, which instantly attracted the attention of many people on the street. They looked at Lin Lang curiously, not knowing what he was going to do. Lin Lang looked at Asha in disbelief and asked, in other shops, 3 loaves of bread cost 10 copper pieces. But how much is it in our shop? Asha met his gaze and replied, 8 copper pieces. Lin Lang frowned, saying no. That's too expensive. Customers are friends. I can only offer my friends the lowest price. I need to lower it by 2 copper pieces. 3 loaves of bread for 5 copper pieces. Asha's eyes widened as she waved her hands, saying no. That's too cheap. Lin Lang put his hands on his hips, looking very assertive. Change it to 5 copper pieces. Asha looked at him in disbelief. Are you crazy? You lose money doing that. I don't agree. Lin Lang's expression was serious and earnest. Then are you going to sell this bread or not? Let me tell you, I can do without making a profit, but I must provide benefits for my friends. Asha was intimidated by his assertiveness, but still stubbornly said no. It can't be that cheap. I need to discuss this with my brother first. Lin Lang stopped looking at her. His gaze fell on the onlookers. Friends, we won't listen to him. In the meantime, whoever wants it, raise your hand. I'm selling it right now. If you wait, the price might go back up. The onlookers exchanged glances. They had never encountered such a scene, until someone started to ask, is it really that cheap? Then I'll buy 3 to try. One person started it. People couldn't help but join in one after another. If the modern, trick-filled sales methods were applied to the Egyptians 3,000 years ago, the effect would be quite obvious. Moreover, after people tasted how good Asha's bread was, They all became repeat customers. The bakery was bustling for several days. In contrast, his shop seemed much quieter. As a result, many people came to cause trouble. But Limania called a few friends to guard the place, and took down those who came to cause trouble. After that, no one dared to come out and cause trouble casually. But on this day, Linlang and Asha were about to close up after selling the bread, when an unexpected guest arrived outside the shop. Asha saw the visitor and covered her mouth in excitement. She quickly told Linlang, "This is the high priest of Egypt." At this moment, he was sitting in a palanquin, with a smile on his lips, asking Linlang to deliver the bread to his residence in the afternoon. Asha was surprised and a bit worried, but Linlang became spirited because he saw on the high priest's belt was a beautiful ankh. To find out more, he decided to take the bread and pay a visit. Little did he know, as soon as he arrived at the high priest's residence, he was locked up in an iron cage for questioning. At that moment, he was also questioned about the bread Linlang had brought. Carefully checked it over. After ensuring it was not poisoned, the high priest finally picked it up and took a gentle bite. Linlang sighed. "Can you let me go now? There really is no false marketing." The high priest chuckled softly. He put the bread down. "You are really cute. But can you tell me where you are from?" "What?" Linlang felt inexplicably nervous. The high priest rested his chin on his hand. "Your appearance and behavior seem not to be that of a local, nor do you look like someone from the neighboring countries of Egypt." Linlang met his gaze. He smiled warmly and harmlessly. If he weren't sitting outside the iron cage, looking down at him, he might think he was an easygoing person. To avoid unnecessary trouble, Linlang instinctively concealed his origins. "I came with a caravan, but encountered pirates on the way. I was the only one who survived. I made my way to Egypt, and was taken in by the siblings at the bakery. I am very grateful to them, so I helped them sell bread." "Is that so?" The high priest continued to smile, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "Eyes do not lie. Look at me and repeat it again." Linlang looked at him, his gaze sincere, and repeated it again. "Of course it's true." The high priest was silent for a moment, sighing. "I really misunderstood you." He raised his hand to signal the attendant to release him. As soon as Linlang came out of the iron cage, after expressing his friendliness towards Egypt, he was about to leave. The high priest suddenly stood up, suggesting that "Your eyes are beautiful and lively, which shows you are a clever person. Would you like to work at the temple?" Linlang had not yet reacted. The attendant, who has been by the high priest's side for many years, was secretly shocked. "My lord priest actually invited this unknown girl to work at the temple. You must know how many people use connections, straining their brains to get into that sacred place. There, one might even have the chance to see Egypt's." Linlang, however, waved her hand dismissively. "I still prefer selling things at the bakery." The high priest raised an eyebrow, interest flickering in his eyes. "The temple offers great benefits. Why not go?" Linlang appeared indifferent and unambitious. "This position within the organization is better suited for your own people. I won't stay in Egypt for long. I am leaving the organization." The high priest was taken aback. Many of the girl's words he actually did not understand, but he could roughly guess their meaning. A faint smile curled at the corners of his mouth. "So the siblings' bakery business is doing so well. Do you know that a big tree attracts the wind? But if you go to the temple, I can send someone to secretly protect that bakery." A blatant threat. A typical case of giving a stick, then offering a date. Linlang scoffed. The Grand High Priest of Egypt has to resort to threatening people. The high priest was not the least bit embarrassed by being exposed. Forced by circumstances, he had no choice but to agree. When leaving, the high priest thoughtfully prepared a sedan for her. But Linlang knew this was not a gift. The high priest clearly did not trust her, an outsider. On the surface, he wanted her to work at the temple, but in reality, he wanted to supervise her. Although it was an overreaction, it also indirectly revealed that this person was very cautious. However, this was just the opportunity to investigate the Ankh on the high priest, to see if it was the one she was looking for. After Lin Lang left, the high priest, who had been gentle, suddenly became serious. He walked to the other side of the room, where there was actually a hidden compartment. In the depths of the compartment sat a man. The sunlight shone on the man's prominent nose. He rested his chin on his hand, with his eyes slightly lowered, his expression lazy and indifferent. But his aura made everyone present feel intimidated. The high priest walked over. Bending down respectfully, he said that the girl was very cunning, did not reveal any information. However, he seems to have no connection with the group that caused the horse to go out of control that night. There is no relationship. He has been by the side of Ramses II for many years. Many times. A single glance from him could convey the meaning. Just now, when Lin Lang was about to leave, it was indeed a signal from His Majesty that he would invite Lin Lang to work at the temple. At that moment, the high priest was also slightly surprised. For the first time, he couldn't figure it out. The pharaoh's intention to let this foreign girl work at the temple. As the sky grew darker, the sunset cast a glow all around. The men before him, who held the highest power in Egypt, looked up at the window, slightly lost in thought. After Lin Lang returned to the bakery, to invite the high priest to work at the temple, to tell Asha, the sibling, is reluctant, crying and not wanting Lin Lang to leave. Limania sighed at Asha. You shouldn't be so selfish. He has his own life. Lin Lang gently touched Asha's head, comforting Asha not to cry. There will be an opportunity to come out of the temple every month. I will definitely come to find you as soon as I come out. But you have to manage the bakery well. Wait for me to come back. This is our agreement. After comforting Asha, Lin Lang left the room and saw Limania, who had been standing outside the door for who knows how long. He was not surprised and greeted first. Do you have something to say to me? Limania was taken aback for a moment. Then his expression became more serious. Lin Lang actually felt that the temple was not that safe. If you are being threatened by the high priest and have to go to the temple, then I have a way to keep you here. Regarding Limania guessing the reason, Lin Lang was somewhat surprised. He curiously asked what the method was. Limania pressed his lips together, feeling a bit embarrassed. He pondered for a while, then looked at Lin Lang and said, "Marry me. Commoners cannot work in the temple after getting married. This way you can stay and continue living with me and Asha." Lin Lang was shocked, clearly not expecting him to say this, saying that the task still has no clues, not knowing when to return to the modern world, let alone marrying a person from 3,000 years ago in Egypt. He rejected it without a second thought. That's not possible. How can your happiness be delayed because of a job? It won't delay you marrying me. I would actually be very happy. Limania looked at him, his expression becoming serious. Lin Lang couldn't make out anything more. That's just outrageous. He took a step back. He wished Limania well in a friendly tone. Your future wife will definitely be beautiful. This is a gentle and tactful rejection. Maybe. A hint of disappointment still crossed Limania's eyes. He smiled helplessly. Can you give me a hug then? Feeling it was abrupt, he added that it was a friend's hug. Lin Lang remained silent, although he had been getting along well with Limania during this time. It wasn't good enough to make him comfortable with physical contact. Seeing the girl looking troubled, Limania pretended nothing happened and scratched his head. Just kidding. I'm going to cook. But after entering the kitchen to cook, he accidentally knocked over a bucket of water because he was distracted. Lin Lang heard the noise from outside. He sighed. Such an attractive appearance can actually be quite troublesome at times. The next morning, a carriage stopped at the door. It was the carriage to take Lin Lang to the temple. At this moment, this carriage looked to Lin Lang no different from a police car transporting prisoners. But he wasn't afraid. He confidently walked over with his luggage. Under the farewell of the Asha siblings, Lin Lang boarded the carriage, entering the temple from 3,000 years ago. Perhaps he himself didn't know. This was the beginning of his shining career in Egypt, the start of his brilliance. It was the cold and ascetic Egyptian pharaoh who would ensure that any woman who approached him would ultimately meet a tragic end. And he never expected that he would change because of the appearance of a modern girl. Just now, Lin Lang descended into the temple, instantly causing a considerable stir. Everyone in the temple knew he was personally arranged by the high priest, and they speculated about his identity behind his back. Relative or lover, or perhaps a benefactor. Because of his connections, the work assigned to him in the temple was quite leisurely. Most people were very friendly to him, except for a few priestesses who had long admired the high priest in vain, who would snort coldly every time they saw Lin Lang, and then secretly criticize Lin Lang's shortcomings. They would compare their figures, saying Lin Lang was unhealthily thin, and her chest was pitifully small. Coincidentally, Lin Lang, who happened to overhear, was not angry. Before leaving, he had touched all their chests. The priestesses blushed, looking at him with shame and anger, with faces full of disbelief. Lin Lang clicked his tongue, smirking with a mischievous grin. They are indeed all bigger than mine, and their shapes are beautiful. I don't know if the high priest likes me, but I certainly like them. The priestesses all widened their eyes, covering their chests and retreating collectively. After that, whenever they saw Lin Lang, they would keep their distance. Lin Lang was very satisfied, and sometimes would actively fly over to tease them. Although the priestesses would curse and complain, their behavior was quite adorable. Several of them were scared to tears by him. In any case, Lin Lang adapted here particularly quickly, eating and drinking as needed. When there's nothing to do, sunbathe and tease the beauties, enjoying it to the fullest. The only thing that gives him a headache is that he hasn't seen the high priest. It's been a while since he came to the temple. This gentle and approachable high priest has been elusive. He's the pharaoh's most capable right-hand man. He usually has many affairs to handle, and he interacts with important figures. Lin Lang's position is low. Under normal circumstances, he has no chance to interact with him. Others in the temple have also noticed this issue. The high priest and this young girl, it seems they are not as familiar as they imagined. Some people who are used to being opportunistic started to test many troubles. Annoying tasks were deliberately given to Lin Lang to make things difficult for him. However, the one leading the troubles soon couldn't smile anymore, because this foreign girl was simply too outstanding. Some very difficult arithmetic measurements she could actually solve quickly. She didn't even need to think. You have to know, some difficult problems have given the Elder Council headaches. She understands a lot of things. The divination algorithm calendar is also solid. Even in architecture, she has a high level of expertise. Now, even several highly respected old priests in the temple are endlessly praising Lin Lang. They dare not be negligent anymore. Lin Lang is even more respectful than before. The difference is, previously it was yielding to authority. Now it is worshipping his absolute talent. Although Lin Lang's position is not high now in the temple, many priests with much higher positions than him would actively greet him warmly. Lin Lang has a feeling that he has taken the script to reach the peak of life. His career prospects are limitless, and his social connections are explosively good. However, even though life in the temple is leisurely and comfortable, Lin Lang still hasn't forgotten his original intention and mission. He came to the temple with a task. Since the high priest doesn't come to find him, he has to take the initiative. Having stayed in the temple for so long, the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II has also come a few times. Every time, the high priest would accompany him. Having become familiar with the people in the temple, he learned from them. The pharaoh and the high priest have a very good relationship, and he trusts him a lot. Before Ramses became pharaoh, the two were very good playmates. Even now, and still maintains a loyal ruler-minister relationship. It's just that every time they appear, there are layers of guards around them. For several days in a row, Lin Lang couldn't get close, only able to watch from afar. Half a month passed. That day Lin Lang had just finished eating, his mouth still unclean, when a female priest pulled him into the garden. Lin Lang, we actually can. You know. The female priest placed Lin Lang's hand on her full chest. With an intoxicated expression, Lin Lang was stunned. What the hell are you doing? The female priest twisted her waist, full of charm, giving Lin Lang a seductive glance. Lin Lang, do you know? Every time you scare me, I actually get very excited. My heart races quickly. You are more outstanding and charming than many men in the temple. The women of the temple serve the gods. To maintain the purity of their bodies, they cannot engage with man. But it doesn't say anything about women. Lin Lang, please hurt me a little. She took Lin Lang's hand and moved it on her chest. The intoxicated and obsessed expression didn't seem acted to Lin Lang, who looked as if he had been struck by lightning. Seeing the female priest's actions becoming more excessive, Lin Lang felt it necessary to slap her twice, to wake her up, just as he was about to lose control, and slap her. A slightly surprised voice came from not far away. What are you doing? The female priest's body stiffened, instantly becoming tense. She didn't expect there were others in the garden. If the priests in the temple found out that the two women were having an affair, the outcome would definitely be very tragic. Lin Lang also shivered, clearly having done nothing. But the scene before him made him feel guilty. There's always a bad premonition in my heart. Sure enough, he turned around and saw the high priest he hadn't been able to meet. At that moment, he was standing in a nearby pavilion, watching the two of them with great interest. There was more than just him in the pavilion. Next to him was a handsome man leaning against the stone pillar of the pavilion, tall and even more imposing. From this distance, one could still feel the aura of authority from the other. When the female priest saw the person in the pavilion, her face instantly turned pale. With a thud, she knelt on the ground, lowering her head and trembling. Lin Lang also didn't expect to be so unlucky. After finishing the meal, he was inexplicably pulled into the garden for a confession of love, which just happened to be seen by someone. He was still someone not to be trifled with. A big shot. In the pavilion, the high priest turned to Ramses and said something. A few guards came over and pulled the kneeling female priest up. No matter how much the female priest pleaded for mercy, the guards remained indifferent, dragging her away. Lin Lang watched from the side, feeling a bit anxious inside, and soon heard his name. Lin Lang, come here. The high priest's voice was like a gentle breeze, coming from not far away. The guards did not treat Lin Lang the same way they treated the female priest. Lin Lang walked to the pavilion on her own. The scorching sunlight was soon blocked, and the occasional breeze brought a hint of coolness. Around the pavilion, there were tall palm trees and other greenery planted. If you don't look closely outside, it's indeed not easy to spot the people inside. They didn't know how long they had been standing here, or how long they had been watching him and the female priest. I really didn't expect. Even the female priest in the temple was attracted by your charm, the high priest exclaimed, with a gentle smile at the corners of his lips. It seems bringing you to the temple was a wise choice. Lin Lang couldn't help but curse inwardly. This high priest is clearly just an old fox in a gentle disguise. Don't think he doesn't know that when he first entered the temple, those who deliberately made things difficult for him were all secretly instructed by this high priest. It was merely to test his abilities. Seeing the girl glare at him, the high priest was taken aback for a moment. The smile at the corners of his mouth deepened. He turned to introduce Lin Lang to Ramses, praising his talents and commending him for a series of contributions to the temple. The groom quietly raised his head, wanting to take a glance at the young king in front of him. However, as soon as he raised his head, he met a pair of deep-set eyes. Ramses was looking at him, his gaze calm, yet somehow it felt cold and chilling. He felt guilty and lowered his head again. It is rumored that Ramses entered the army at the age of 10, following his father, the previous Pharaoh Seti I, who personally went to the battlefield, battling fiercely. He indeed did not disappoint Setiai's expectations. With his strong political leadership and military talent, he became Egypt's new, brave and fearless young monarch, continuously expanding and developing this fertile land of Egypt, making it more and more prosperous. There are also rumors that Ramses has a volatile temper, and there was once a bold female priest in the temple who wanted to gain the pharaoh's favor, taking the initiative to offer affection. In the end, the female priest met a tragic death, becoming food for the lions. I don't know if it's an illusion. Lin Lang always feels that his eyes are very familiar, as if she has seen them somewhere. Looking up, his voice is deep and pleasant, but it is undeniable. Lin Lang can only look up at him. The man standing at the pinnacle of power in Egypt looks even younger than the high priest. What kind of reward does he want? Ramses values talent highly. Not only did he not pursue the matter from earlier, but he even wants to give him a reward. Indeed, talent will always be valued in any era. Lin Lang's tension dissipated quite a bit. He thought for a moment and looked at the high priest. I don't want anything too valuable. The high priest's belt is very beautiful. Can you give it to me? The surroundings became very quiet. Lin Lang could feel the atmosphere becoming somewhat subtle. Ramses did not speak. The high priest gave Lin Lang a strange look. In the end, Lin Lang did not receive the high priest's belt. Ramses instead rewarded him with a lot of fresh fruit. Lin Lang did not understand. Later, through inquiries, he found out that the high priest's belt, only his wife can have it. So what he said that day was undoubtedly in front of Ramses, expressing affection for the high priest. Lin Lang felt embarrassed to face the high priest now. Who knew the high priest was so particular? A belt has a special meaning. Fortunately, they did not pursue it and just dismissed him with fruit. After that, Lin Lang could clearly feel the high priest avoiding him. They originally couldn't meet. Now it made things even more awkward for him. A month passed quickly. Lin Lang could finally leave the temple and have a short vacation. He brought back the fruits that Ramses had rewarded him with to the bakery. Asha had never seen so much fresh fruit. Her eyes lit up. Limania was also surprised to see so much fruit. With a look of astonishment, Lin Lang, how did you get so much fruit? In Egypt, these fruits can be considered luxury items. Only nobles and royal officials can enjoy them. Commoners rarely have access to them. Lin Lang picked up a grape and put it in her mouth. I performed excellently in the temple. The pharaoh rewarded me. You can eat with peace of mind. Asha, hearing that it was a gift from His Majesty, forgot to eat the fruit and looked at the fruit Lin Lang brought with an uncertain tone. So what I'm eating now is fruit gifted by the pharaoh. Seeing Asha's precious hands holding a grape, Lin Lang couldn't help but laugh. If I could, I would really like to take you to eat chilled watermelon. That would be truly delicious. Asha swallowed hard. Chilled watermelon? Can we commoners also eat that? In my hometown, there's no distinction between commoners and nobles. We can eat chilled watermelon every day. And also watermelon juice. Watermelon-flavored ice cream. Your hometown is really enviable. If you go back, my brother and I will go with you. Then we can eat watermelon every day. Lin Lang patted her head, not having the heart to tell this innocent little girl that she simply couldn't take them there. 3,000 years later, Lin Lang came out of the temple this time, actually having other things to do. In the afternoon, she left the bakery, heading to the high priest's residence. Lin Lang had inquired in advance. The high priest would not be going to the palace or the temple that day, handling official business at the temple. He will be resting at home. The high priest is deliberately avoiding him. You can't see anyone in the temple at all. He can only take the initiative to go to his house to find him. Passing through rows of low houses, Lin Lang slowed her pace under a palm tree. He glanced around with his peripheral vision, pretending to enjoy the scenery. Counting to 30 in his mind, he suddenly accelerated and started running. At the same time, a group of strong, masked individuals quickly appeared from all around. surrounding the front and back paths. Who are you? Why have you been following me? As soon as I left the bakery, he sensed someone was following him. At first, he thought it was the high priest's people monitoring him. But later he realized it didn't seem to be the case. You are the foreigner who has been making a scene in the temple recently. The girl, right? The masked person looked at Lin Lang. A hint of amazement flashed in their eyes. They had never seen a girl with such fair skin. Lin Lang guessed from their words that it was likely some noble in the temple who disliked him, wanting to teach him a lesson. However, the attire and behavior of these people didn't seem like that of locals from Egypt. Lin Lang pondered. Who sent you? After the masked individuals confirmed his identity, they did not answer, but directly swung their knives at him. Lin Lang was startled and dodged to the side, nimbly weaving between the palm trees, playing a game of tag with them. Then, taking advantage of their inattention, he tripped them with stones. One of them snatched a knife from his hand. Those people initially didn't take Lin Lang seriously, thinking that a little intimidation would scare him off and let them handle him. As a result, although the girl looked weak, her agility was surprising. She quickly had them spinning in circles. The masked individuals were astonished. A dozen of them exchanged glances and began to take it seriously. They found that he could still hold his ground against them, even snatching a knife from one of them, and began to counterattack. The masked individuals instantly became alert, murderous intent evident in their eyes. However, the knife in Lin Lang's hand became more and more fluid. He executed various knife techniques without repeating any. The remaining masked individuals were caught off guard and gradually found themselves unable to fight back. What exactly do you have, masked person? Before they could finish speaking, Lin Lang swiftly struck them down. A dozen strong masked individuals. In the end, only one person was left alive by Lin Lang. Lin Lang wanted to interrogate this only survivor. As a result, the person pretended to be compliant on the surface, but suddenly threw a handful of powder. Lin Lang accidentally inhaled it. Instantly, he felt dizzy and disoriented. The masked person's expression was sinister. He pulled out a smaller dagger from behind. He raised it and lunged at him. Lin Lang wanted to defend himself, but he felt weak all over. As the dagger drew closer, in the next second, a sharp sword came through the air, piercing the masked person's arm that was holding the dagger. The masked person let out a painful howl. The dagger fell to the ground with a thud. Everything happened too quickly. Lin Lang didn't even have time to react. Because he inhaled the powder, his attention began to waver. His body couldn't support him and he fell to the ground. Before closing his eyes, he saw a tall, slender man holding a bow. Lin Lang fell into a deep sleep. Your Majesty, you guessed correctly. They indeed couldn't help but take action. The high priest looked at the fallen masked individuals, and then at the sleeping girl. He really is quite remarkable. The high priest was stunned. He saw the usually lazy and indifferent man actually walk over. He gently picked up the girl who was lying on the ground. Lin Lang woke up again, finding himself in a strange room. His clothes had also been changed. Just as he was in shock, a maid came in from outside with some fruit. You're awake, Lin Lang pointed at himself. The clothes on me were changed by me for you, the maid said with a smile. You can call me. There Lin Lang slowly breathed a sigh of relief. This is the palace. His Majesty instructed that you should rest well. If you need anything, you can tell me. What His Majesty? Lin Lang's heart, which had just calmed down, suddenly jumped again. Panicked, she shouted out Ramses' name. The goddess looked flustered. Miss Lin Lang, you cannot directly call His Majesty by name. Lin Lang had just woken up, her mind still unclear. She quickly covered her mouth. Oops, I misspoke. Pretend you didn't hear that. Didn't hear what? A calm and powerful voice came from the doorway. Lin Lang's body stiffened. It was quite tense there as well. After receiving Ramses' glance, he silently exited the room. The room was very quiet. Ramses leaned against the bench, looking at the girl across from him. With her head down, her fingers skillfully peeled the grape skin. Her fair fingers were stained with juice, shining with an enticing luster. After peeling it, she wanted to hand it to him. Ramses gently raised an eyebrow and fed me. Seeing the girl obediently feed the grape into his mouth, she secretly rolled her eyes when looking down. He was taken aback. Then a hint of a smile crossed his eyes. You seem not afraid of me. How could that be? I admire you very much. You are the most outstanding and greatest man in all of Egypt. And you saved me before. My admiration for you is like the endless flow of the Yangtze River, never ceasing, just like the Yellow River. She peeled the grape skin while flattering him. But it seemed ineffective on Ramses. Shut up, noisy. Lin Lang obediently shut her mouth. Ramses looked at her for a while, his deep eyes reflecting the image of the girl. That night. Why were you alone on the street? Lin Lang was taken aback. That night. She met his gaze. Images flashed through his mind. In an instant he remembered. The person riding that night was actually you. Did you take my backpack? Ramses squinted his eyes. He did not deny it. Where exactly do you come from? Why have I never seen the things in the bag? He had someone bring the bag over. Lin Lang saw her backpack. It was like seeing an old friend in a foreign land. Tears filled her eyes. Just as she was about to touch it, it was taken by Ramses. He took it away. Lin Lang watched the things in her backpack. He took them out one by one. Phone, power bank, ID card, sanitary napkins, sunscreen spray, cola, and a few bags of snacks. He first picked up a bottle of cola and shook it. What's inside this? Poison? Lin Lang was speechless. She directly took it and took a sip in front of him. This is cola. Not poison. Ramses looked curious. He took it and had a sip too. At first, the taste was a bit strange, but it seemed a bit addictive. He couldn't help but lick his lips. He took another sip. How is it? Tasty, right? Seeing the effect was good, Lin Lang opened another bag of chips. This one is also very delicious. He took a bite. The chips made a crisp sound. Ramses followed and ate a piece. It was indeed very crispy. The taste was also good. Lin Lang watched Ramses with a look of curiosity. He secretly smiled. Fried puffed food plus happy soapy water. Very few people can resist their temptation. How is it? None of these are harmful things. I really am not a spy. Or anything like that. To prove myself, Lin Lang actively introduced other things to him. Until he was about to introduce the sanitary napkin, Ramses took one and opened it himself, calmly wiped his mouth in front of him. The egg evaluation is good. Lin Lang showed an awkward expression. It's not for wiping the mouth. He noticed that her expression was off. Lin Lang smiled, quickly tried to mislead him. It's for wiping the mouth. Ramses always felt that Lin Lang's gaze at him was a bit strange. Just as he wanted to continue asking, Lin Lang spoke up first. Your Majesty, I assure you, I have absolute loyalty to Egypt. There are absolutely no ill intentions. You see, I have shown you all these things. Can you trust me now? But you still haven't answered my previous question. Where do you come from? Don't try to lie. My hometown is very far from here. You can understand that I am a modern person. Ramses clearly has never heard of it. This place shows no emotions. Where is modern? East of Egypt. Perhaps even further. Clearly seeing Ramses's impatience, Lin Lang sighed secretly. He really is not easy to fool. I am not very clear about the route either. I came with a caravan. First, we crossed a vast ocean. Then it took a long time to arrive in Egypt. He tried to make his expression and tone more natural. In front of this Egyptian monarch, even a slight oddity would be noticed. Ramses did not speak. Lin Lang secretly observed his expression. Although Ramses seems easy to talk to now. After all, he is a person from 3,000 years ago. And still the Pharaoh of Egypt. Maybe 1 second he is calmly talking to him. The next second he could behead him. Time passed second by second. Lin Lang tentatively called out to him. Seeing that he did not show displeasure, He continued, I have said what I needed to say. Can I have my things back now? Ramses looked up at him and spoke. Let's see how you perform. Lin Lang looked puzzled. Ramses stood up from the bench, taking his things with him before leaving. Who can guarantee you are not lying? During this time, stay in the palace. I will observe your performance. Lin Lang's eyes widened, almost cursing out. Seeing him suddenly turn back at the door, he quickly put on a smiling expression again. Ramses raised an eyebrow, said nothing, turned around and left. Lin Lang watched his receding figure, cursing in his heart that he must be bored. He has already shown such loyalty and introduced all his belongings. Not only did he not return his things, but he also wants to forcibly detain him. Does he really look like a spy? Is he such a big threat? Well, now, the holiday given by the temple is gone, and he is now in a more upscale cage. However, with the mindset of accepting what comes, he optimistically thought, the probability of encountering the high priest in the palace is much higher than in the temple. Moreover, the treatment in the palace is definitely better than in the temple, mainly because he doesn't have to work. However, the lazy life he imagined did not come. The next day, Ramses actually asked him to go to discuss with the old man from the construction bureau together about some problems encountered in the recently built temple. Lin Lang didn't want to stand out and had been trying to lower his presence. Who would have thought that the ministers would look at him, casting disdainful glances and mocking him one after another? He's just a girl who hasn't even grown any hair. Now Lin Lang can't stand it anymore. There's no choice, since I'm already here. He has to show off and slap some faces. It's really a waste of the current situation. Lin Lang cleared his throat. He started drawing lines on the grass paper with a ruler. His movements were professional and mysterious. Finally, a minister couldn't help but ask what he was drawing. Other ministers were also paying attention to Lin Lang. Their gazes drifted over. Lin Lang smiled politely. He began to explain seriously. His novel ideas instantly captivated the ministers. They went from skepticism to being dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with disbelief. How could your calculations be so fast just now? Lin Lang had a mysterious expression. It's simple. Just mental math. This left all the ministers in awe. Everyone started to praise him. Lin Lang instantly became the center of attention again. The ministers gathered around to ask him. She looked up into Ramses' deep and bright eyes. He seemed quite satisfied with his performance. He stayed in the palace for several days in a row. Every day, Lin Lang was praised by that group of construction ministers on the way. At night, Lin Lang sat by the window in a daze. He recalled the first time he saw this palace, almost getting hit by a chariot. He took off the ankh from his neck. There was another crack on it, and it was covered in cracks. It almost penetrated the entire ankh. It seemed like it would shatter at any moment. Lin Lang pondered. Every time something strange happens, it seems like the ankh gets another crack. It seems that this time he came to 3,000 years ago in Egypt may be related to this ankh. The other cracks on the ankh, do they represent that the previous owner also encountered strange events? Lin Lang secretly collected quite a few ankhs. The only suspicious one that he couldn't obtain was the ankh on the high priest's belt. That ankh can only be possessed by the high priest's wife. It must be very valuable. It has a special function. It cannot be given to outsiders. He cannot marry the high priest. Lin Lang frowned because of this. Not only because of the ankh, but also because Ramesses was coming to his place. He comes every evening after handling official business. He brings snacks. The palace chef has also tried to replicate them. It highlights the wisdom of the Egyptians. The two would eat snacks together. Ramesses would also inquire about his hometown. He is very interested in the modern world 3,000 years later. The novel things Lin Lang mentioned have a fatal attraction for ancient people. That day, Lin Lang wanted some peace. He wanted to jump out the window before the man entered, but he lost his nerve at the man's command. He came after bathing, wearing a moon-white robe. He lacked his usual majesty and indifference. His deep-set eyes looked at Lin Lang. making him feel flustered inside. He walked in with a serious face. Lin Lang pretended nothing was wrong. He said he wanted to greet him. Ramesses laughed in anger. Do you want to see me that much? Lin Lang praised him. You are the greatest ruler. Asha remained silent. He walked in front of him, examining him. How many people have you said these words to? His tall figure overshadowed Lin Lang. An oppressive aura came at him. Lin Lang felt nervous. But Ramesses saw his phone light up. What the hell? How did the phone turn on? Lin Lang tried to stay calm. How did you make it light up? Didn't you say this is a talisman? Why is it glowing? It even has your face on it. The screen showed his smiling photo with a peace sign. Lin Lang had a headache. How do you explain technology? He grabbed his wrist, pushing it against the wall. Cold as a frozen pond, Lin Lang winced in pain. This is a family heirloom of mine. But Ramesses didn't pay any attention to what he just said. He just wanted him to extend his wrist for treatment. The warm fingertips made him tingle. Lin Lang stared at the man's profile, unable to help but swallow. He quickly snapped back to reality. He was glad the phone had a lock screen password. And it was still in Chinese. He picked up the phone, opened the camera facing them. Ramesses was shocked, seeing their faces on the screen. Lin Lang was rambling, saying this was a camera freeze frame, and they would receive divine protection. Don't move around. Lin Lang had him make a peace sign. He frowned, feeling silly. Not moving, Lin Lang was unceremonious, lifting his arm, bending it into a peace sign. He quickly took the picture, even turned on the flash. He froze. Taking a picture was too advanced for him. Lin Lang wanted to laugh, finally making him scared for once. Who would have thought he would take a photo with a pharaoh from 3,000 years ago? This trip was not in vain. Lin Lang looked at him in the camera, dazed by his deep and three-dimensional features. The lines were smooth, flawless. This is the pharaoh from 3,000 years ago. The invincible king. At this moment, he was making a peace sign, unnaturally looking at the camera with him. Ramesses Adam's apple rolled slightly. I can move now. Lin Lang put down the phone, struggling to hold back laughter. He actually felt. Ramesses looks quite cute when he's being fooled. Ramesses put down the peace sign. For the first time, I feel like I'm foolishly awake. He wants to take the phone away. Lin Lang took a step ahead and tucked it into her arms. Your Majesty, only I can make this thing work. Just leave it with me. I can help you take pictures with your concubines. This way, you will receive the blessings of the gods. Your offspring will also be smart and brave. Ramesses frowned. He still took the phone from her arms. I don't have any concubines. Lin Lang was stunned. Indeed, there were no beauties in the harem. He leaned down. He lifted her chin. Lin Lang had to look up to meet his gaze. Ramesses' eyes were like deep pools. Staring too long could easily draw someone in. Lin Lang wanted to look away, but she couldn't move. You are so outstanding. Egypt wants to marry you. The girls who can surround you could circle the Nile several times. Ramesses tightened his fingers. His voice was deep and hoarse. You haven't passed my test yet. Don't let me hear you say anything about leaving Egypt. After saying that, he turned and left. The phone was naturally taken away as well. Lin Lang closed the door. She cursed him in Chinese all night long. After that, Ramesses kept giving Lin Lang more and more work. Busy during the day and still had to organize documents at night. If she slacked off, she would be met with his sharp gaze. Returning to her residence at night also meant facing surprise inspections. Lin Lang held her head and endured it well. She became a corporate slave in ancient Egypt. She thought of ways to deal with this capricious pharaoh. Deliberately making noise, she was driven out of the study. She found a way to run into the high priest in the palace. Finally, she waited for him in the back hall corridor. The high priest had a gentle expression, wearing a white priestly robe. She was taken to the back. He pretended to be surprised and greeted. Lin Lang's eyes were filled with resentment. Your Majesty has made me do all your work. Have you been resting well these days? The high priest coughed awkwardly. He said the king was training him. Linlang wanted to return to work at the temple. The high priest said he needed the king's permission. He was curious why Linlang wanted his belt. He has a collecting hobby. Wants to exchange it for skills. The high priest was silent for a moment. He said the king valued him highly. Whatever he wanted would be rewarded. Last time he asked for the belt, he didn't get it. The high priest sighed. The belt cannot be given to outsiders. Not even a touch is allowed. The two were at a standstill. The high priest smiled helplessly. He said this would lead to misunderstandings. Linlang shrugged. That's just how hobbies are. The high priest was amused. No wonder the king always keeps you close. Running errands in the study. Serving the king is like accompanying a tiger. The high priest expressed understanding. Then he started gossiping. Linlang didn't expect him to be so gossipy. Counting on her fingers as she spoke. There are too many points to criticize. The high priest occasionally agreed, expressing understanding. Linlang sighed. Now I have to weigh which foot to step in with when entering the study. Afraid of upsetting him. Clearly, this job is not suitable for me. But the high priest didn't agree with her anymore. Instead, he looked at her with a hint of sympathy. Linlang was puzzled, until a sudden realization struck her. There was no time to turn back. A sinister voice had already sounded behind her. So you have such a problem with me. Linlang noticed the schadenfreude in the high priest's eyes. He did it on purpose. He had seen it long ago. Ramesses behind him not only did not remind him, but instead guided him to continue speaking. Linlang glared at him. He just smiled. Ramesses stood in the shadow of a large column. He crossed his arms. Beside him was a maid, who had been responsible for Linlang's daily life in the palace. Nalanali lowered her head, trembling as she knelt at Ramesses' feet. She had just wanted to remind Linlang, the emperor is here, but was stopped by a cold glare from Ramesses. She could only watch the unsuspecting girl, with her back to them, speak those chilling words, watching Linlang being taken away by Ramesses in the end. It was very frightening there. And she couldn't help but worry for Linlang. She wanted to follow and stop. The high priest called out to her from behind. What is your name? Nalanali. That's a really nice name. The weather is nice today. Let's go for a walk in the garden. Nali was taken aback. Unable to grasp the high priest's thoughts, she lowered her head and refused. I'm sorry, my lord. I am very worried about Miss Linlang's safety right now. The high priest smiled. The emperor won't make it too difficult for him because of this. Nali still felt uneasy. Her expression hesitant. Let's go, Nali. The high priest's tone was gentle. I don't want to say it a second time. Clearly smiling, Nali instinctively felt fear. She shivered. On the way, the high priest looked at the maid beside him, who appeared distracted. He squinted his eyes. The more he felt that the Eastern girl had an unusual secret. He is very curious, but there should be someone even more curious than him. The air pressure in the study was low. Ramesses stared at Linlang. In your eyes, I am a cruel, heartless, bloodthirsty killer. You are the Pharaoh, with your own way of handling things. But a lion eating human flesh every meal isn't easy to digest. He spoke very tactfully. Ramesses laughed in anger. The lion I raised eats human flesh every meal. A dangerous glint flashed in his eyes. Who told you that? If I were to expose someone, would you feed him to the lions? Without a hint of hesitation, Ramesses spoke flatly. Rumor-mongers should be punished. Linlang tugged at the corner of her mouth. Your Majesty, you are quite honest. I am not you. Speaking inconsistently. Your Majesty, what is your status? What is my position? Some things I really didn't dare to say. Ramesses was curious. So who exactly told you? I forgot that person might have said it unintentionally. And I overheard. There are so many people in the palace. I can't remember clearly. Ramesses chuckled awkwardly. It seems there are still too many idle people in the palace. Seeing the gradually dangerous expression on his face, Linlang seemed to guess what he wanted to do. Whether true or false, you are still the Pharaoh of Egypt. The people of Egypt worship and believe in you. You have the responsibility to protect and safeguard them. You should not indiscriminately kill the innocent. Ramses looked at her. This time, the girl did not pretend to be timid, but raised her head to look him in the eye. There is a saying in our hometown: water can carry a boat. It can also overturn a boat. You are a brave and skilled politician, but the people of Egypt surely hope you can also be a benevolent and wise king. Ramses did not speak. He gazed at her eyes for a long time. Linlang returned to her place at noon. There, she had been waiting for a long time. Seeing that he was fine, she felt relieved. Linlang smiled and skipped. Sorry to have worried you. She reminded him not to say frightening things in the future. Linlang sighed. She claimed to have been schemed against by the high priest. After leaving, she wouldn't have to endure his anger. He was surprised that Linlang wanted to leave. He said the Pharaoh valued her. He might even marry her. Linlang laughed and said it was impossible. She only wanted to marry a man who was loyal to her. She didn't like being constrained. The outside world is much more interesting than the palace. Linlang didn't know what had upset Ramses. It might have been the previous preaching that offended him. He was removed from his work in the study. She hadn't seen Ramses for several days. It was just right to play go with Nolly. Sometimes it was also boring. She thought it would be nice to have a phone. Unknowingly, several days passed. That night, Linlang dreamed of snatching back her phone. But she was awakened by Nolly's scream. A crazed lion charged at Nolly. Nolly fell and couldn't get up. Linlang reacted quickly. She grabbed a guard's bow and arrow, aimed at the lion's right leg. She shot an arrow. The lion instantly roared. It spared the trembling Nolly nearby. It turned and lunged at Linlang. The guard beside her saw the golden-haired lion pouncing. He was too scared to react. But Linlang was quick to respond. She strapped the bow and arrow to herself, pushed the guard to another place, while she dodged in the opposite direction. The next second, the claws came through the air. They brushed past the two of them, pounced on the spot where they had just stood. The two avoided the golden-haired lion's attack. When the lion was about to eat the guard, Linlang quickly shot an arrow at its other leg. The lion had never been provoked by anyone. It turned and lunged at Linlang. Linlang sidestepped to avoid it. But the lion quickly turned around, attacking again. Linlang didn't have time to draw the bow. Just as the lion was about to swallow her, Enka suddenly glowed faintly. The lion was stunned. Linlang took the opportunity to climb a palm tree. The lion circled and roared under the tree. Linlang leaned on a branch, gasping for breath. Looking over there, she shouted for someone to calm down. The lion's legs were injured, but it excitedly jumped, trying to bite Linlang. Linlang climbed a bit higher, remaining motionless. Finally, she waited for Ramesses to arrive. He calmly directed his guards to capture the lion. The lion was quickly taken away. Ramesses walked to the base of the tree, his gaze fixed on the one in the tree. Linlang had actually fallen asleep from exhaustion. Linlang dreamed that someone seemed to be stroking him. Just as he was enjoying it, his calf hurt. He woke up to meet Ramesses' gaze. Linlang felt guilty and nervous. When he stood up, his calf hurt again. He also noticed that he was injured. Ramesses told him to sit still. He bent down to help him apply medicine. Linlang wanted to pull back his leg. He wouldn't let him. Then he awkwardly asked, "Where's Nolly?" His expression was not good. He said he risked his life to save an inconsequential maid. Linlang said Nolly was very good to him. "She's a friend." Ramesses said saving Nolly was also his choice. Had he ever thought he might die? But Linlang told him to take care. Lion. Ramesses is trying hard to suppress his anger between his brows. Linlang has angered him. He was locked up. And he wasn't given any food. Nolly secretly brought food in the middle of the night. Linlang ate it with great relish. Nolly tenderly helped Linlang apply medicine to his calf. Linlang even comforted him in return. Shadows moved outside the window. The high priest poked his head in and said Linlang adapted well to the environment. Lin Lang asked if he was the one who had Nolly bring the food. The high priest smiled but said nothing. Lin Lang said Nolly had no right to bring food in the middle of the night. Unless someone allowed it. Ramesses wouldn't do that. Then it must be him. The high priest shouldn't pretend either. Everyone is eyeing his country's advanced technology. The high priest hurriedly said it was a misunderstanding. Lin Lang didn't want to beat around the bush. He wanted to close the window, but the high priest said there was something. He asked Lin Lang to go and coax Ramesses. Lin Lang had a blank expression. He still wanted to close the window. The high priest said after he was locked up. Ramesses was in a bad mood. The ministers were anxious. He asked him to go find Ramesses and say soft words. Lin Lang smiled. You teased me before, inducing me to deliberately speak ill of Ramesses. I haven't asked you for an explanation yet. The high priest coughed. This is another misunderstanding. If you want my help, then it's an equivalent exchange. The high priest guessed that Lin Lang wanted his belt. He felt a bit troubled. I really can't give this belt to outsiders. Lin Lang said just to touch it after it's done, and then return it. The high priest was skeptical. Lin Lang wanted to close the window again. After struggling and sighing, the high priest relented. The deal was made, and Lin Lang was pushed to the entrance of Ramesses' chamber. Realizing that coming in the middle of the night was not very appropriate, Lin Lang turned back and saw the high priest signaling him with his eyes to hurry inside. Inside the palace. It feels like a cold and terrifying monster resides there. It's too late. He needs to rest. Let's choose another time. He might be flirting with a woman. Is it inappropriate for me to go in like this? The high priest couldn't help but laugh. It seems you still don't understand His Majesty well enough. The high priest sighed lightly. He performed a ceremony that Lin Lang couldn't understand. Go in. I assure you. His Majesty is definitely not flirting. Lin Lang felt that what he said was strange, as if he was going to catch him in the act. His Majesty is very special to you. Only you can make him different. I hope you can understand him. He has his own difficulties. After saying this, the high priest turned and left. Lin Lang hesitated for a moment, but still pushed open the door to the chamber. The man sat at the desk. So late. He was still handling the documents from the day. Hearing the sound, Ramesses paused in his page turning. He raised his head, seeing it was Lin Lang. He casually lowered his head again. Go out. I'll come find you to apologize. I don't want to say it a second time. Right. Just as Lin Lang was about to take a step. You dare to step out and try it. Ramesses looked up at him, speaking so sharply. It seems the anger hasn't subsided yet. I shouldn't have contradicted you before. I shouldn't have scolded your beloved lion, and even shot him with an arrow. Do you think I'm angry because of that? Ramesses stood up and took Lin Lang to the highest point of the palace. In your eyes, I'm actually no different from that lion. Ramesses stood on the city wall, looking at the Egyptian territory he ruled over. He said self-deprecatingly, the lion may not want to be like this. That lion, from the moment it was born, had to grow its fangs and claws as quickly as possible, licking its wounds in the midst of bloodshed to survive. Otherwise, I wouldn't feed it. I would even whip it. It turned its head to look at it. Lin Lang felt the chill in its eyes. Do you know why? I gave it status and glory. This reward is also a shackle, so it cannot die for itself. It's quite sad, isn't it? A hint of a smile appeared on Ramesses' face. He raised his hand to signal the maid to bring a few bottles of wine. He took a big gulp for himself. Lin Lang also took a sip. The wine indeed tasted rich and mellow. The two leaned against the city wall, chatting casually. At this moment, he seemed not to be the king of Egypt, above 10,000 men, but just an ordinary person, chatting with Lin Lang on equal terms. A strange emotion surged in Lin Lang's heart. The ankh around her neck felt slightly warm at this moment. Ramesses pointed to the outskirts of Memphis, to an open area. How about I build you a temple there? Lin Lang was startled by his words. Are you going to turn me into a mummy and put me inside? Hearing this, he laughed. No, The temple will enshrine your statue. Why would you enshrine my statue? There's no reason. You really are as domineering and willful as ever. Linlang realized the atmosphere had become a bit ambiguous. Ramesses took a few steps forward and pulled her into his arms. The solid chest made Linlang's body freeze. He held her very tightly, especially tight, as if afraid she would disappear into thin air the next second. The unk around Linlang's neck became very hot. I am not angry because you saved someone. I am afraid that you might encounter danger in a place I can't see. And I can't appear in time to protect you. He still spoke his true feelings. Linlang's ears were tickled by the warm breath he exhaled. Ramesses held him and softly said he was willing to restrain himself, to interact with you equally and friendly. So can you not dislike me? Linlang was stunned, not expecting Ramesses to say these words to him. For a moment, his feelings were subtle and complex. This cold and aloof man actually told him that he would strive to interact with him equally. Just then, Linlang suddenly heard an anxious female voice. Can you hear me? Linlang's eyes widened. That voice belonged to a classmate who came to Egypt for field research with him. Lena. He hurriedly looked around, but there was no sign of Lena at all. Saying you don't dislike me. Ramesses' voice pulled his attention back. Belonging solely to an adult male. A warm and dry hand rested on Linlang's waist. Linlang's body stiffened. This body instead involuntarily wanted to snuggle closer. So strange. He wanted to listen carefully again, but he could no longer hear Lena's voice. With the Egyptian monarch holding her tightly, Linlang felt very anxious. Her profile was very close to his face. You're holding too tight. Let go a bit. You haven't said yet. Linlang's feelings became increasingly dazed. I don't dislike you. But don't you think we're too close right now? Sorry. Ramesses let her go, thoughtfully helping her tug the loose strands of hair behind her ear. She was clearly dissatisfied with his intrusive actions, but she managed to restrain herself well and put away her strong demeanor in front of him. Ramesses' gaze unintentionally fell on Linlang's lips. His Adam's apple bobbed. His eyes darkened a few shades. He actually feared that a foreign girl would dislike him and leave him. Ramesses himself found it unbelievable. He slowly closed his eyes, letting the wind on the city wall gradually cool the desires in his heart. Linlang also touched her chest. His heartbeat was surprisingly stirred up as well. He looked up at her. In the dark of night, even with his eyes closed, the man's presence was still hard to ignore. The aura was still undeniable. The ankh pendant around his neck rested against the girl's chest, still slightly warm, but it was no longer as hot as before. The two on the city wall each had their own thoughts. The next day, Linlang returned to her post. It was the same as before, yet somehow different. Ramesses was always watching him. Finally, unable to bear the gaze any longer, Linlang reminded him, Your Majesty, don't be lazy. Ramesses seems to be in a good mood. With a slight smile, don't call me Your Majesty anymore. Just call me by my name. And the one being lazy is that pigeon by your window. It's too full to fly now. Linlang calmly waved her arm, chasing the pigeon away from the window. Destroy the evidence. You must have seen it wrong. Ramesses raised an eyebrow. A smile flickered in his eyes. It was indeed a mistake. Hearing this, Linlang immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Days passed like this. The high priest, who had been missing for many days, finally arrived at the palace. In Ramesses' study, the high priest admired Linlang for calming the majesty so quickly. Not only was he released, but he also seemed even more unrestrained. His majesty was also indulgent and pampering towards him. Unable to help but be curious, he quietly looked up at the corner. Linlang was sitting there eating an apple, also looking at him. He was reminding him not to forget their previous agreement. The high priest smiled slightly. Once he finished discussing serious matters with his majesty, he would keep his promise. The high priest was thinking this when he turned his head again. He was startled. The man who had been sitting in the chair was now propping his chin and looking at him discontentedly. The high priest no longer looked at Lin Lang and continued speaking. This time, the two discussed Egypt's grain planting and harvest. For a long time, Lin Lang, who had been quietly staying in the corner, left midway. The high priest sighed in relief. Your Majesty, you have gone to great lengths to earn his trust. It seems the effect is quite good now. Lin Lang probably wouldn't have thought. That night, it was Ramesses who instructed the high priest. Let the maid deliver food to him, and the high priest will guide him to find Ramesses. It is also the will of Ramesses, Your Majesty. He insists on wanting my belt. The high priest's expression became serious, looking at him. My belt seems to be very important to him. Ramesses looked at the belt on the high priest. An ordinary belt, with a green ankh embedded in the middle, because it has been worn for a long time. The surface is somewhat worn. There is nothing particularly different about its appearance. That day, Lin Lang was in a good mood, because he finally got the high priest's belt. However, after some inspection, he found it still wasn't the ankh he was looking for. Lin Lang returned the belt to the high priest, not even glancing at it again. The high priest was momentarily stunned, surprised to take back the belt. He observed his expression, not missing the fleeting disappointment in the girl's eyes just now. Somewhat curious. Haven't you always wanted my belt? Why change your mind now? It wouldn't be that you want to use it on me, would it? As an idea for another belt? Seeing the high priest covering his own belt, making a move as if to step back, Lin Lang laughed out loud. To put it simply, I just don't like it anymore. Interests come quickly and go just as fast. Anyway, thank you still. After parting with the high priest, Lin Lang stood in the corridor feeling gloomy. A clear pool of water caught his attention. He walked over and sat by the edge. The lotus flowers in the pool swayed with the wind. Lin Lang felt the breeze. With his hands supporting his cheeks, he gazed at the lotuses, in a daze, wondering where the ankh he was looking for was. When Lin Lang saw Ramesses, he was leaning against a thick row of bookshelves, studying his phone closely. Lin Lang thought he had unlocked the screen password. He took a few steps closer to him, only to realize he was just staring at his photo on the phone screen. What's wrong? Ramesses looked up. Lin Lang naturally reached out, wanting to take the phone, worried you might mess with it. He offended the gods. However, Ramesses slightly raised his hand and dodged away. He lowered his gaze and pointed at the photo on the phone. Why is your image always on there? This is my phone's image. Having it on there is a kind of authentication. Look at the battery level on top. It's the phone's lifespan. When this green bar runs out, then it can't be used anymore. Lin Lang decided to speak more seriously, to make him stop messing with his phone. After hearing this, Ramesses indeed put the phone down. It always gives me a feeling of being out of reach. Otherwise, I might as well lock you up. Lin Lang hurried over to give him a shoulder squeeze and a back pat. Don't. I really don't want to be locked up again. Don't be afraid. I was just joking. Your expression just now didn't seem like a joke. At noon for lunch, Lin Lang had lunch with Ramesses. The maidens came gracefully, setting various sumptuous dishes on the table. So many beauties. No wonder Ramesses has so many wives. Thinking of this, Lin Lang felt complicated inside and a bit uncomfortable. She looked up at the person across from her. Seeing him look over, he smiled, his eyes curving up. Lin Lang's heart skipped a beat. Her gaze slightly flustered next. The aroma of the food on the dining table gradually smoothed the unusual waves in the girl's heart, tempting her appetite. Try it. Ramesses is thoughtful, pushing some dishes towards her. It's very delicious compared to yours. Each has its own characteristics. All are delicious, but this is healthier. The girl spoke while eating, her cheeks round and full. Ramesses smiled. Had someone pour Lin Lang a glass of fig juice to aid digestion, then eat more. There are many you haven't tried yet. You'll get to eat them all in the future. Rest assured to stay in Egypt. Egypt will be your second home. So I guess I'm quite lucky. to have you as my support here." Lin Lang's eyes curved up, smiling at him. The girl's smile was bright and radiant. Ramesses was momentarily stunned, trying to maintain his usual calm and steady expression. "Stay by my side. As long as I can do it. Any of your needs can be met." Hearing this, Lin Lang smiled. "I increasingly feel you are like the ruler of Egypt, someone with a kingly aura." Ramesses raised an eyebrow, thinking this was Lin Lang's praise and admiration for him. Lin Lang tried hard not to laugh. Everyone in the palace likes him very much, praising him endlessly. But he has secrets. Staying in the palace may just be a temporary plan. He will leave. Thinking of this, Ramesses narrowed his eyes dangerously. He cannot let him leave freely. He is still too trusting of others. Ramesses chuckled softly. As the king of Egypt, it has made him accustomed to fighting for everything he wants, no matter the means. In the second before looking up, his eyes were also filled with dark calculations, which he managed to conceal well. Ramesses picked up the wine cup, personally refilling the finished fig juice for Lin Lang to the brim again. His attitude was casual and natural. He placed himself on an equal footing with her, seemingly really learning seriously how to interact with him as an equal. Watching the girl who had packed her bags and was about to climb the wall, Nolly spoke up with a troubled expression to stop her. "Miss Lin Lang, what are you trying to do?" Lin Lang didn't expect Nolly to suddenly return. Her heart sank. She instinctively glanced at the shop entrance. No one else came in. Lin Lang quietly breathed a sigh of relief. To leave the palace quietly, she could only climb the wall. Now she has already been discovered there. To avoid complications, he definitely cannot back down this time. Ramesses is difficult to deal with. He will not restrict his actions in the palace, but he won't let him leave the palace. Lin Lang knows. Ramesses intends to use another method, to soak him in a jar of sweetness, to clip his wings, and keep him as a canary. He will play along with the plan, just to lower his guard, and then take this opportunity to secretly search for nearly a month, finally confirming that there is no Enka he is looking for in the palace. "I miss home very much. My family is still waiting for me." Regarding Lin Lang's honesty, there was a hint of difficulty in that. "But your Majesty treats you very well. He will also send you home. Or perhaps His Majesty will bring your family to Memphis, so you can reunite." "That's not the same. I told you before. I long for freedom. But it seems that your Majesty does not want me to go too far. Maybe because His Majesty likes you very much. He is worried, afraid you will leave him." Lin Lang shook her head, watching the girl climb over the wall, completely disappearing from sight. Lolly closed his eyes, placing his hands on his heart. Long before Lin Lang saved him from the lion's mouth, he had pledged his loyalty to Lin Lang. No one cares about the life of a humble maid. Only Lin Lang was willing to risk her life to save her. In Egypt 3,000 years ago, commoners mostly lived in low brick houses. Leaving the royal capital of Memphis, the desert and ancient villages are scattered, primitive and simple. To avoid causing trouble for the Asha siblings, she left Memphis overnight. Due to unfamiliarity with the road, he fell from the hillside and fainted. Was picked up by the solitary Grandma Gaysong in Tatter village. Grandma Gaysong is the village witch, using folk remedies to treat illnesses. Though her personality is difficult, she has a kind heart. Lin Lang found the village far from Memphis. The villagers are simple and honest. Many elderly, weak, women, and children. After consideration, she decided to stay by Grandma Gaysong's side, to help with housework, assist in treating illnesses, and affectionately call her Grams Gaysong. The relationship between the two was established. Tatter village is closed off and backward in information. The followers of Ramses are searching extensively. Lin Lang's news only reached his village half a month later. Those matters of the capital are very distant for them. They also don't think that the criminals the Pharaoh is focusing on capturing would escape to their village. Lin Lang, who was eavesdropping among them, was already on guard. At this time, she was wearing a brown wavy wig, and had applied something on her face that made her skin look very rough. To do her makeup, and changed into a coarse linen dress. With this disguise, she had avoided soldiers searching for her many times. Lin Lang inquired around the area and learned that Ramses was very angry after discovering he was missing. He is such a proud person, probably feeling very unwilling inside. I wonder how Lolly is doing. Lin Lang rubbed her forehead, hoping Ramses wouldn't implicate others because of him. Another 10 days later, Lin Lang fully felt the perseverance that Ramses possessed. He had been searching. He guessed that he would look for Enka again, and specifically sent many people to the places in Memphis and surrounding towns. Fortunately, she disguised herself as a clueless village girl to get by. But even so, she still almost got discovered many times. The thing on her head seemed to be a wig, and her appearance didn't look much like a local Egyptian. An Egyptian soldier stopped Lin Lang, saying, "What doesn't look like? I still don't know my granddaughter. She has a strange illness, and only wears a wig because all her hair has fallen out. This strange illness is contagious. You'd better not touch her." At this moment, Grandma Gaesong walked over with a stern face. A few soldiers instinctively took a step back upon hearing this. Lin Lang breathed a sigh of relief and gratefully glanced at Grandma Gaesong. The two quickly left the soldiers' line of sight. Lin Lang continued to look for Enka. Although Grandma Gaesong always said she only knew medicine, she found that Grandma Gaesong really knew some mystical things. He asked Grandma Enka where Enka was. Grandma Gaesong only said that what he was looking for was nearby. She told him not to run too far. Lin Lang was half convinced. He chose to stay by Grandma Gaesong's side. Days passed leisurely. Every afternoon, when the sun was about to set, he would sit by the pond on the back mountain for a while. The clear pond had lotus flowers blooming. It was rare for lotus flowers to bloom in such a remote place. When the wind blew, the fragrance of the lotus wafted in the air. It could relax the mind. Lin Lang would dip his bare feet in the pond. The water flowed gently. He instinctively reached to touch Enka around his neck. Whenever it was quiet, Enka would feel slightly warm, to indicate its presence. Sometimes Lin Lang felt that this Enka had its own intelligence. Previously, he had almost been eaten by a mad lion. It was Enka's sudden glow that stunned the lion, allowing him to escape. "Hey, did you bring me back to 3,000 years ago?" Lin Lang couldn't help but ask him. Enka actually did glow for a moment. Lin Lang was taken aback. "So can I go back?" This time Enka did not glow. No matter how Lin Lang asked afterward, Enka did not respond. Lin Lang felt that he must be too bored to be chatting with Enka. He had previously asked Grandma Gaesong. Grandma Gaesong only said lightly to take good care of it, not to lose it. This Enka recognizes its master and likes you very much. Also, spend more time talking to it. Unexpectedly, Enka really had some spirit. It would occasionally respond to him. Thus, Lin Lang believed that Grandma Gaesong truly had some skills. Perhaps the Enka he was looking for was really nearby. Another half-month passed. A major event occurred in Egypt. Our great and wise Pharaoh has actually gone missing. It is said that his horse was startled while he was out, ambushed by the Hittites, missing without a trace. This incident caused panic throughout Egypt. Egyptian soldiers and Hittites are both searching for him. Hittites and Egyptians have had long-standing grievances, attempting to annex Egypt. Lin Lang is not worried about Ramesses, believing he can survive this ordeal. In the evening, Lin Lang returned from the back mountain as usual to prepare dinner. But he smelled a strong scent of blood coming from the small house. "I just picked someone up outside." Grandma Gaesong was just about to enter the house. Lin Lang nodded. After all, he himself was also picked up. However, the person picked up this time seems to be seriously injured. Lin Lang skillfully picked up the bandagging tools and entered the house with Grandma Gaesong together, and looked at the person on the wooden bed from a distance. Lin Lang clicked his tongue till he got closer to take a look. He staggered slightly. The man's profile was outlined with blood. His strong and tall body was mixed with blood and dirt. An arrow was lodged in his chest. He had his eyes tightly closed. His lips were pale. What a coincidence! Grandma Gaesong saw Lin Lang standing there in a daze, frowned and urged, "My eyesight isn't good. Hurry up and help him take off his clothes." Lin Lang heard this and quickly stepped forward, skillfully removing Ramses' outer clothing. After taking off his shirt, his strong and sturdy body was covered in bruises, presumably caused by falling off a runaway horse. Grandma Gaesong handed over the prepared ointment for him to treat Ramses' serious wounds. Stopping the bleeding is a matter of life and death. Lin Lang was particularly serious. With gentle and meticulous movements, the wound on his chest was the most severe, hit by a poisoned long sword, and very close to the heart. Fortunately, Grandma Gaesong was highly skilled in medicine. The ointment took effect. The bleeding stopped, and the spread of the toxin was also contained. Grandma held various bottles and jars, carefully drawing out the dark bloodstains from his chest. Couldn't help but mutter that after sustaining so many injuries, he could still live. This kid really has a strong life. After treating the wounds, it was already very late. Grandma Gaesong was exhausted. Being old, she rarely encountered someone with such severe injuries. "Sister Gaesong, you should go rest. I'll take care of this." Lin Lang coaxed Grandma back to her room. Rubbing his sore shoulders, he sat by the bed and looked at the person on it. The man's face was pale, his eyes tightly closed. Even in such a sorry state, the sense of oppression from him was still hard to ignore. He really didn't expect that Grandma Gaesong would bring Ramses back. He wondered what Ramses would think when he woke up and saw him. Outside the window, it was already late. Lin Lang planned to notify the soldiers searching for him in the morning, to have someone take him back before he woke up. But he hardly slept all night. Before dawn the next day, he went outside and found that Tatar village and the surrounding villages were all sealed off. The Hittites must be looking for Ramses. The village's location was remote, with hills blocking it. It's not difficult for the Hittites to secretly control the surrounding villages. Lin Lang hurried back. Before the Hittites search for people, he needs to hide the unconscious Ramses well. He successfully avoided a disaster. But he couldn't contact the outside world. He also couldn't leave Ramses. He could only stay here for now. Lin Lang felt a bit of a headache. There was only one bed in the room. Grandma Gaesong was in another room. She didn't like being disturbed. Now that Ramses was seriously injured, he couldn't sleep on the floor. Grandma said to squeeze in with him. Lin Lang firmly stated, "Sister Gaesong, I have principles. I won't sleep in the same bed with a strange man." He insisted on sleeping on the floor. The temperature was low at night. The floor was laid out. The soft grass was still hard. After sleeping for a night, the second night, Lin Lang pulled Ramses to the other side of the bed and lay down himself. What's there to argue about with an injured and unconscious person? Even if he woke up, he couldn't do anything. Halfway through the sleep, Lin Lang had a nightmare, dreaming of something eerie and terrifying staring at him. He was so scared that he slapped out. He suddenly opened his eyes and met another pair of eyes. The person across from him had woken up at some point. Lying flat, he tilted his head slightly to look at him. There was a fresh red handprint on his face. It was the one he had slapped. Lin Lang froze. Ramses, now awake, didn't know how long he had been looking at him. Due to his injury, his face was weak and pale. The handprint was even more obvious. He had no expression. His dark eyes still looked as they did in memory. After a long time, he finally made a sound. The two were lying on the same bed. Waking up with this fresh red handprint, Lin Lang felt the need to explain clearly. "Do you have any water, Ramses?" His throat was hoarse from lack of water. Lin Lang got up to pour water. He was weak, unable to move. He looked up at him. There was a hint of helplessness. Lin Lang steeled himself to help him up. "Here, drink some water." He took a sip of water. His throat felt a bit better. The surrounding environment did not question. Lin Lang avoided the topic. "There are people outside looking for you. Ramses hadn't eaten for a long time. Sitting for too long made him weak. He leaned on Lin Lang's shoulder and coughed. Lin Lang wanted to push his hand away, but hesitated in midair. Seeing his pale face, he couldn't bear to pull back. "What do you plan to do now?" Ramses did not answer. He looked up at him. "Why did you leave the palace?" Lin Lang's lips twitched. He didn't want to answer. He pressed on with the main issue. "What do you plan to do next?" "You are in danger of being discovered by the Hittites at any moment. Being with you, you protect me." Lin Lang doubted he heard correctly. "Do you trust my abilities this much? Why did I search for you for a month? You hid very well." Lin Lang felt he had become a rogue. "But I can't hand him over to the Hittites." "Then we need to agree on this. I helped you. You can't repay kindness with enmity. And take me back." "I won't repay kindness with enmity." "Then will you still take me back?" Depending on the situation, Lin Lang suppressed the urge to hit him. He talked about the situation outside. The young pharaoh heard that the Hittites had blocked the village. He had no expression. "I understand now. He probably has a plan. But his body is extremely weak. He looks exhausted." Lin Lang placed a pillow between the two of them. At night, Ramesses couldn't sleep. As if he was enduring something. Lin Lang noticed the movement. He opened his eyes and asked, "The wound itches. Sister Gaesang's medicine is working. Just bear with it. It will be fine." He let out a breath and quieted down. Lin Lang was worried. He opened his eyes and found him looking at her. Didn't expect he would open his eyes. He was taken aback for a moment. Regained his calm. "I woke you up. Sorry. I didn't mean to." Lin Lang touched him. His forehead is very hot. Frowning, she murmured he has a fever. He was confused about the fever. Blinking. "You just lie down well." Searching through the grass basket. Picked a few kinds of herbs. Boiled for about 2 hours. Brought the medicine into the room. Ramesses was still awake, quietly watching him injured and sick. Thinner than when he was in the palace. Drank the medicine. Lin Lang blew on it. Fed it to his mouth. Ramesses obeyed. Opened his mouth for the deep brown medicine to enter. He looked surprised. Licked his lips. Added honey. "The medicine is too bitter." Added a bit that doesn't affect the medicinal properties. Lin Lang scooped another spoonful. Fed it to him. His gaze softened. He cooperated obediently. "It's not late. I added some sleep-inducing herbs in here. You will be able to sleep soon." Lin Lang blew out the candle. Only the faint moonlight remained in the room. "Thank you, Ramesses, for your polite thanks." This is what Lin Lang taught him in the palace. She said that people over there will thank you when they receive help. "You're welcome, but there's no need to pretend here." Lin Lang yawned. Touched her forehead. The girl had just washed her hands. The temperature was slightly cool. Feverish Ramesses was very fond of this temperature. Gently rubbed his forehead against her palm. His hand left her forehead. She felt a void in her heart. Could only look at that hand with lingering thoughts. The night was quiet. On the wooden bed, the two lay on either side. Breathing gradually became long and steady. The next day, Lin Lang covered her eyes with her arm, wanting to sleep a little longer. Suddenly remembered. There was more than just him on the bed. Opened her eyes. On the pillow side was the man's handsome and deep profile. He was still sleeping. It seemed he had a very comfortable sleep. Lin Lang did not wake him. Quietly got up and went out to make breakfast for the day. When breakfast was ready, he knocked on the door and found Grandma Gaesong was not there. She probably went out again. Lin Lang was already used to it. Grandma Gaesong would go out from time to time. Sometimes she would return the same day. Sometimes it would take several days. He planned to go out first to buy some honey. Then wake Ramesses up. Put on a wig. Applied a cream to darken his skin. He also stuck on a mustache. This time he disguised himself as a thin man to go shopping. And so he successfully bought honey. When he returned, Ramesses was already awake. Lin Lang stood at the door. The unfamiliar outfit almost made Ramesses alert instantly. After seeing Lin Lang's face clearly, He quickly lowered his gaze. He raised his head again. His expression was calm and gentle. "It's me, Lin Lang. Who opened the door? Did you go out?" Ramesses examined her outfit. So this is how she was dressed before. It doesn't matter that she was hiding from me. Don't speculate. The tone of eating was somewhat commanding, causing Ramesses to be slightly stunned. A strange emotion flickered in his eyes. Ramesses' injuries were indeed too severe. Naturally, Lin Lang took on the task of feeding him. Ramesses kept looking at him. "What's wrong?" Lin Lang seems a bit uneasy. His mustache is crooked, looking at the corners of his mouth curling up. Lin Lang was stunned by the mustache. Only then did she remember that he hadn't removed the makeup on his face. There was still a patch of mustache stuck to his chin. She instinctively adjusted the crooked mustache back in place. Then she realized again. Why bother sticking on the mustache? She pulled the mustache off again. These actions fell into Ramesses' eyes. He raised an eyebrow slightly. Having a mustache is quite cute. Lin Lang stuck the mustache onto his smooth chin. "Here, I'll give it to you. Grandma Gaesang's ointment needs to be applied twice a day." At first, Lin Lang felt very awkward applying the medicine for her. After all, she was in a coma before, and now she was awake. During the process of applying the medicine, Lin Lang's movements were very gentle. Afraid of hurting his wound, Ramesses was half closing his eyes. It seemed he was quite enjoying it. But every time the medicine was applied, after about half an hour, a fine sweat would appear on his forehead. Lin Lang knew this was a characteristic of Grandma Gaesang's ointment. But seeing him like this, Lin Lang always felt it was a bit exaggerated. So before that, on a small wound he accidentally scratched on his arm. He used this ointment. When it was first applied, it felt very cool and comfortable. But gradually a strong itchiness began to intensify, like ants crawling on it. Lin Lang almost scratched her arm raw. Only then did he appreciate Ramesses' incredible endurance. After Grandma Gaesang returned, she simply said that the recovery was going well. Ramesses had good physical quality. His recovery was indeed very fast. In just 3 days he could get out of bed and take a few steps. Then he pulled at the wound and fell onto Lin Lang. In the end, both of them unexpectedly fell to the ground together. Ramesses reacted quickly, instinctively using his arm to protect the back of her head and her back. Lin Lang didn't fall hard, but the wound on the man's arm seemed to have opened up. A faint smell of blood lingered in the air. Lin Lang felt frustrated. She reached out to push him, but couldn't move him. The man also had no awareness of getting up. His tall figure completely covered her beneath him, but he intentionally controlled his weight, not to press down painfully on her. Lin Lang pushed him again. "Can you get up or not?" His voice also carried a hint of helplessness. At such a close distance, the other person's high nose bridge brushed directly against his nose tip. Breath felt like feathers lightly tickling. Lin Lang wanted to push him away with all her strength, but was afraid of touching his wound. Ramesses held her down as she struggled. His voice was a bit hoarse. The girl's bright, and her clear eyes that left him helpless. At this moment, in Ramesses' view, there was a deadly attraction. He suddenly spoke up. "Sorry. What's wrong?" Ramesses' Adam's apple rolled. Ultimately, he couldn't restrain himself. He lowered his gaze and kissed her. At the moment their lips touched, Lin Lang's body stiffened. His movements gently pressed against her. The corners of his lips turned slightly, as if testing. Seeing her in a daze, he let out a low laugh from his throat. His tongue further explored into her mouth. Lin Lang finally reacted. She closed her mouth, but it was already too late. He had already invaded. Domineering yet gentle, Lin Lang felt her hands and feet go numb from the kiss. His breath was too aggressive, yet carried a gentle seduction. She almost couldn't hold back, letting out a soft moan. She really couldn't take it anymore. He bit him. Only then did Ramesses hiss, reluctantly withdrawing. His bite was not light. There was a fishy taste on his tongue. He wasn't angry, Instead, he leaned against his neck and laughed. The laughter was very cheerful. His chest shook. He trembled along with it. After laughing enough, Ramses rubbed his earlobe. Like a secret between lovers. Why is the body so sensitive? Lin Lang's face instantly flushed. I don't like physical contact with others. But just now, you really enjoyed kissing me, didn't you? No, not really. I was just asking him. I won't tease him anymore. Turning over with a smile, rolling off him, lying flat on the floor with him. The laughter was light and quick. Lin Lang noticed. During this time, Ramses has been laughing more and more here. Is it really that funny? He's just too frivolous. Lin Lang touched her slightly warm face, just as she was thinking this. At this moment, Grandma Gaesong walked in with a slightly hurried pace. From outside, the Hittites are looking for someone again. Due to geographical reasons, conflicts are inevitable between the two countries. The Hittites have always been watchful of Egypt. But Egypt's strong national power leaves the Hittites helpless. Ramses. The Hittites have always wanted to eliminate him as their top target. But the pharaoh of a nation is surrounded by tight security. Ordinary people can't get close at all. However, Grandma Gaesong is in such a hurry to come in now. She is not here to remind Ramses. This reminds Lin Lang that Ramses' identity is too special. Without his consent, Lin Lang did not reveal his identity as the Pharaoh of Egypt. To Grandma Gaesong, she only said he is a member of the Memphis nobility. After all, no matter how much he tries to disguise it, the calm and composed aura around him is not something an ordinary citizen can possess. Grandma Gaesong is not interested in Ramses. She only said to let him recover first, and then quickly have someone take him back. Eat a little less of his food. During this time, the Hittites come to search for people from time to time. Previously, Lin Lang disguised herself as a black ugly village girl with a black mole the size of a fingernail on her mouth. The Hittites who came to search for people kept saying she was unappetizing, affecting their appetite. They left without even looking at her. But this time is tight. There's no time to dress up. The Hittites arrived at the door, breaking in like robbers. Inside, only Grandma Gaesong was sitting at the head of the bed. Lin Lang and Ramses had already hidden in the secret compartment under the bed. These lower-ranking Hittite soldiers only cared about looking for strong men or petite women and completely failed to notice the secret compartment under the bed. But still someone noticed the faint smell of blood in the air. Is there anyone else in this room? Grandma Gaesong replied. It's only me lying. I clearly smelled the blood hidden in the secret compartment. Lin Lang heard the soldier's words. Her heart tightened. If discovered, these Hittites would definitely join forces with other nearby Hittite soldiers to come and capture people. And it would also implicate Grandma Gaesong. That sensitive-nosed Hittite soldier had already started to carefully sniff around the room. Finding the secret compartment was just a matter of time. Suddenly, a pair of hands wrapped around her waist, holding her tightly, protecting her well. A hand gently patted his back, like a silent comfort, telling him not to be nervous. Ramses was much calmer and steadier than him. His body temperature was very high. Being held like this by him actually gave a great sense of security. Listening to the footsteps outside the bed getting closer, this body instinctively trembled slightly from tension. Lin Lang took a deep breath, buried her head in his neck, feeling Ramses' steady breathing. Don't be afraid. I'm here. His voice was very soft. His palm was dry and warm, gently rubbed his head. The footsteps were getting closer. The two people in the dark compartment under the bed seemed to merge into one, breathing together hidden in the darkness. The soldier in the guest corridor smelled the scent and was in the room, but couldn't find exactly where. Frustrated, he kicked the bedboard. Damn, the dark compartment almost got exposed. Ramses slightly turned to the side, using his body to block Lin Lang from the outside world. Maybe the Hittite soldier would kick in next. I remembered. There's a little guy here. Grandma Gaesong suddenly spoke up, slowly pulling something out from the wooden cabinet at the head of the bed. Is this what you're looking for? Several Hittite soldiers looked over. When they saw Grandma Gaesong holding a dead mouse in her hand, they all stepped back in disgust. Why did you put a dead mouse here? Grandma Gaesong smiled eerily. Because I like to eat dead mice. Looking at the bloody corpse, the crazy Hittite, the soldiers were scared by him. Unable to find anyone, worried about catching some strange disease, they all left the room with a gloomy expression. After confirming the soldiers had left for a long time, the two finally came out of the dark compartment. The wounds on Ramses' body that had just healed had reopened a lot. Lin Langray bandaged him. He looked down at him. Ramses actually didn't care whether Grandma Gaesong liked to eat dead mice or not. He just wanted to talk to him. From the moment they came out until now, he had been ignoring him. The girl pressed her lips together and pointed at herself. A red earlobe. The top was licked with a layer of watery red hue. It lingered for a long time. What's wrong? He asked knowingly. The good deed you did in the dark grass just now. I feel like you're too nervous. Helping you shift your focus. Ramses' voice was innocent. Lin Lang increased the pressure of the bandaging. Ramses didn't actually feel pain, but he knew he was angry. No matter what he said, Lin Lang ignored him all day. But at night they still had to lie together. A pile of blankets was placed between them as a barrier. You couldn't see the person on the other half of the bed at all. But it wasn't long. When the blankets were taken away by Grandma Gaesong, I said I couldn't find the blankets. Turns out they were here. The old woman's voice grew fainter. The blankets were taken away. There was no barrier in between, revealing the faces of the two. Ramses gently poked her shoulder with his finger. Don't touch me. The girl covered herself with the blanket, turning her back to him. Ramses raised an eyebrow. Right now, he was fiercer than the lion he had once tamed that didn't recognize its master. Yet he strangely liked her this way. With rich emotions, it also allowed him to feel the vibrancy of normal communication with others. The joy of being ignored did indeed give him a bit of a headache. Ramses disliked showing weakness. This time he didn't care about his pharaoh's dignity. He actively softened his voice. Are you angry? Lin Lang didn't say anything. He sighed lightly, with a smile of helplessness. I represent Upper and Lower Egypt to express my deep apologies to you. Forgive my rudeness during the day. Wealth, status, land, slaves, temples can all be given to you. Can we have a truce? His serious tone sounded like he was really negotiating. But where is the negotiation? It's in the blanket. The pharaoh propped his head up, pulling at the corner of his blanket. Lin Lang covered her head with the blanket. No. Refusing to impeach. I can raise the stakes. A long and strong hand reached over, gently lifting the blanket off his head. Fresh air rushed in. Lin Lang no longer had the blanket covering her face. Instinctively bit his outstretched hand. Ramses gasped in surprise. He helplessly pinched her face. His voice was light and hoarse. I am here to impeach. Do you understand the rules? Lin Lang felt guilty listening. She opened her mouth and bit again. Ramses stared at the bite mark on his hand for a long time. Can you tell me why you're so angry? His voice carried a hint of unrecognized affection. What you did during the day was excessive, but you really like to roll. Ramses was silent for a moment. You have a lot of guts. You're the first to bite a mark on the pharaoh's arm, and to make the pharaoh roll. Lin Lang really didn't want to talk to him much now. I am not Egyptian. I don't have that set. Regarding your faith, if it weren't to stay safe here, I wouldn't want to bother with you. Don't want to bother with me. Ramses' voice finally sank down, faintly regaining the former majesty of the pharaoh. Is there some misunderstanding about me? Why are you always looking down on me? He had sensed it early on, that she was resisting him deep down. Lin Lang didn't expect to speak too quickly, to express her inner thoughts, but felt that some things were better said openly. She turned around, looking at the person by the pillow, meeting his deep eyes. Ramses, I won't stay in Egypt forever. Why? The darkness in Ramses' eyes grew heavier. Because I want to go home. I will leave Egypt sooner or later. There are countless beautiful women in Egypt. You are the Pharaoh of Egypt, brave and courageous, invincible in battle. In the future, in your harem, the number of women who worship you is countless. Don't make any overly intimate gestures towards me again. Your injury has healed. Let's part on good terms. Lin Lang finished speaking. She turned around again. With her back to him, she closed her eyes. Part on good terms? After a moment of silence, a dull sound came from behind. In the next second, Lin Lang was suddenly pulled into an embrace. This embrace was irresistible. His head rested against her neck. Obsessive and serious. He pressed closer against her skin, feeling the pulse beating. I might disappoint you. I can't do it. His domineering and undeniable embrace and words left the girl stunned, helplessly trying to pry his hand from her waist. The grip loosened slightly, but he turned her shoulder back. Her body had no choice but to turn and face him.